Good afternoon. Welcome to this seminar today at the Rui Cunha Foundation. I would like first to give our word of appreciation to Rui Cunha Foundation, as usually supporting initiatives like this in Macau. And I also would like to thank our guests, Professor Miguel de Castro Neto and Professor André Barriguinha. Both of them are from the new University of Lisbon Information Management School. Professor Miguel de Castro Neto is the Dean of the school, well known as a Nova IMS, and Professor André Barriguinha is the Chief Executive Officer of a lab that they have there called Nova Cidade Urban Analytics Lab. So today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, which is about smart city, how we can manage smart cities through the use of data, how we can use data to improve quality of life in the cities and sustainability in general. So I would like first to pass the word to Professor Miguel Neto, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, José. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Also, let me express the gratitude for receiving us here at Fundação Rui Cunha. And as José said, I'm the Dean of Nova Information Management School. Nova Information Management School is one of the 9 faculties of Universidade Nova, and what we do is to work with information management, data science, artificial intelligence in different fields of application. Today, Nova Information Management School is a community of over 4,000 students coming from 97 different countries. The international students represent 30% of our students, and all the programs that we have are taught in English, from the bachelor to the PhD. Along our history, we have not only, I believe, as a dean, and proudly to say that our programs are ranked at the top, at not only at national, but at the international level. There is one international ranking called Edu Universal that ranks our master program in business intelligence as the best in the world for 6 years in a row, and we have other programs also very well ranked. Our researchers are in fact leading in their areas of expertise, and also the third pillar, what we call the value creation pillar, is being very successful through what we call the Nova Analytics Labs. So the Nova Analytics Labs are the instrument that we created in order to transfer the knowledge that we produce in university to real value for society by developing applied projects, either with the private companies, with the industry, or with the government, either at national level and the local level. What we are going to speak about is about one specific lab, Nova Analytics, Nova Cidade Urban Analytics Lab, that I founded 10 years ago, and that is led by André Barriguinha, with whom I will share the presentation. But just to say, so the idea of the lab was first to build an ecosystem of the different stakeholders in the context of smart cities and territories in Portugal. So we work closely with the industry, but also with the local authorities. It happens very often that we work together with the mayors of different cities in Portugal, and this is one of the reasons I believe we were able to be so successful, is because we have really built an ecosystem and we have partnered with the local authorities. And what I'm going to tell you is a little bit the story of the lab and some examples of the projects that we do today in the context of urban analytics, believing that we can today create a context where decision-making is supported by evidences, either at the operational, but also, and more important, at the governance level. We can, in fact, create an environment where public policies can be data-driven. And so, why the topic? Why smart cities? Why to try to use analytics to create a different environment for decision-making in urban spaces? This is the reality that we live in. Cities, although occupying a very small percentage of the surface of the earth, today half of the world's population live in cities, and one very important aspect is that cities are the engines of economic growth, of innovation, of cultural production, and so this is the opportunity. The challenge is, today is 50%, and by 2050 the projections say that we will have 70% of the world's population living in cities. So the idea is that we need new tools, new approaches, new methodologies to manage the cities, to manage services and infrastructures, to guarantee the quality of life and the well-being of the people that live, work, or visit the cities. Nevertheless, there is one problem, which is the impact of this population in what concerns greenhouse gas emissions, and to address climate emergency, it's in the cities where we must act, and we must change the way we live and the way we use the resources that are available. So cities, they produce half of the waste, consume almost 80% of the energy, and are responsible for 60% of the greenhouse emissions. And so it's in the cities that we must also tackle the climate emergency. And so when we speak, and now some images from Porto and Lisboa, I think it's always nice to have them present. When we speak about smart and sustainable cities and territories, what we are saying is that today we have the capacity of collecting data from many different sources and data in many different formats to take advantage of digital transformation, to change the way we make decisions, to change the way we use the resources, to be able to do almost a kind of acupuncture in the city, so that I can take decisions that are targeted and adapted to location and to time. So the decision, the intervention, and the use of resources in this place is different from what I do in this place. And in this place, if it is January, the decision is one, but in I don't know, in August, the decision is different. So we try to dynamically make decisions that, using data, can be in fact the best solution and the best usage of resources, and also the way that we provide the best experience to the people or to the organizations. And so the idea of digital transformation in this context is not to digitalize the manual activity of organizations. The message behind the scene is that when we look at digital transformation, the idea is that we should look at digital transformation as a kind of a tool that enlarges the space of opportunity of what we can do and how we can do it. And so the idea is, I have data, I have technology to analyze that data, and so I can do things differently. I can create new products and services. And so in the end of the day, the big challenge is not technology, is not data, is brains. Do we have the resources, the human resources, with the necessary skills to take advantage of the huge opportunity that we have today? For instance, today, everybody has probably in their smartphone some tool of generative AI. Can we use that kind of tools to change the way we function as organizations, as cities, in order to be more efficient and to create or improve the quality of life and well-being of the citizens? And what we have seen in cities is that many times they start to invest in technology to become smarter, and these technologies are usually adopted in a vertical way. What I mean by this? There is a solution for smart parking, there is a solution for smart waste management, there is a solution to monitor the transit, the traffic, there is a and so on. And cities started to create what we call the coordination and control rooms, where all these screens, they receive the data, the information, the images from the different verticals. And we have in that room people from the different city services so that they can react in real time to any problem that happens in the city. I like very much this room because it was created by me with ChatGPT. And it's, but I'm going to sell this project. So Ricardo is an architect. I don't know if you believe this is a good solution for a yes? Okay. And to say that the question is, okay, there is I don't know, a water pipe in the middle of the city, there is a water leakage, the traffic must be cut. And I have here in this room, I don't know, a representative from the fire department, from the public hygiene, from the public transport system, and they all take actions in order to restore the status of the city as soon as possible. And depending on the maturity of the city, maybe they can, even when they go to the location, they have already information about the parts that are necessary to repair the damage in that location. And this is, shall I say, today, the typical state of a city that is considered to be a smart city. But it's just the beginning of the journey. What I would like to now try to take you along the way is that, okay, now I have different verticals in the city. But most of the times, when I try to understand a certain phenomena, the data that is in that vertical is not sufficient for us to understand what happened and why it happened. We need data from outside because probably it was something that is not in the system that can explain what happened. And so today we see the trend towards building what we call the city as a platform. So I have many verticals and I have external entities or data sources, and I try to create a data repository where I integrate data from transactional systems where we register anything that happens in the city, data from the people, and this means active and passive data. For instance, today many cities have applications like Fix My Street, where people can report problems in the public spaces, but at the same time, each time I move around just with the smartphone, or each time I do a payment, or anything that I do, it leaves a digital footprint that can feed this kind of data repositories, always safeguarding the privacy of the citizens. And of course, all the sensors that we have everywhere, the Internet of Things, or what some people call today the Internet of Everything, because we have data being generated by so many sources that it's almost impossible to capture them all. But the idea is that I integrate data from the different sources, and then I can take advantage of the present analytical capabilities. I can describe what happened in the past and what is the present status. And if I have data about the past, I can use data science to make predictions about what will be probably the future events. And if I can predict the future and describe the past, I can make prescriptive analytics, meaning what? I can create different scenarios and evaluate what is going to be the outcome in those different scenarios to select what is the best course of action in order for the future, not to be the prediction, but what I, as the mayor, want to be the prediction, the future. And so this is the idea of the city as a platform, and if I'm capable of building this approach, probably the municipality will have better capacities to manage and plan the city. The industry, the businesses, will have a space of innovation to create new products and services. Academia, us at university, we can research and innovate, and the citizens probably we'll get better services from the city, more information about what is happening, because on the end of the day, what we want with this approach is to make the city almost invisible to the citizens, meaning what? There are no friction points between the city and the city. So there is no garbage anywhere in the city, the public transport arrives in time to the right place, and so on and so on. So everything works smoothly and in a visible way to the citizen. And so the idea is that this can lead not only to very efficient operations in the city, but to a new paradigm of data-driven public policies. Because we can use these analytical capabilities to create information that can be used for a new generation of city management and planning. I will give you 2 examples of what I mean by this. So, of course, I could give examples on how to optimize the management of the city services. But let's think at the city as a platform. And for instance, here, this is in Oeiras, a municipality in Portugal. And we have created a model that looking at a concept which is the 15-minute city, which is Carlos Moreno established a theoretical framework where it states that ideally each person in the city should arrive to the services of the city that he needs in a daily basis, maximum in a distance of 15 minutes walking or cycling. And what we have done for Oeiras is that we have calculated for every house in Oeiras how much time it takes walking, cycling, or by car to the different services of Oeiras. Because Oeiras have a database where they have registered where everything is in Oeiras. From a pharmacy to a school, to a kindergarten, to a pharmacy, a barber shop, a theater. So everything, they know where they are. And so I can say, for instance, I'm planning the investments for the next year, and I want to decide where to invest. So if I have the census data and I have the location of the different services, I can decide here there is no kindergarten, and the census show that probably I will have children in the near future. So this is where I should put the kindergarten to guarantee that everybody in the municipality has access to the principal services of the city. On this side is a completely different project that was funded, that was made in partnership with MIT. And the idea was, can I, when there is an event, understand what is the impact of the event in the city? And so here, there is an important, the biggest event in Porto is Nós Primavera Sound, and we were able to understand that during the event, the use of electronic scooters, trottinettes, doubled, or doubled, and the traffic jams tripled. And the use of public buses didn't change. So this is a problem in terms of the governance of the city. So I should take some action in order to guarantee that people use the public transport to go to the event and not the private car or the e-scooters. And so the idea is to give insights that are relevant for cities to make this analysis. What is the problem? We have in Portugal 308 municipalities, and these examples that we have and the projects that we have done, that are with Lisbon, Porto, Oeiras, Cascais, and typically cities that have resources, that have data, that have qualified human resources. But the majority of the municipalities, they don't have this. And so we started to think on a different concept. And then we created this concept of a smart region, which is, okay, let's try to give this kind of insights to municipalities where they don't have so much data. And so instead of trying to bring data from the ground up, bottom-up data, we started to look for top-down data. What does this mean? And this is a real project. So what I'm going to show is a project that we have done in a group of 12 municipalities in the west region of Portugal. And for these 12 municipalities and for the region, This what I'm showing here, of course, it's not in real time, but this is a system that is operating in their organization with their data, and everything is updated automatically without no human intervention. And I have here many different information sources, but just to give you an example, this is a visualization on the dynamics of the public transport system of that region based on the ticket validation of the passengers. So what we see here is that the most important flow is not within the region, but it is the connection with Lisbon. Here, this is a very interesting top-down data source, because in Portugal we have one entity that manages all the digital transactions, all the digital payments in Portugal, which is CIPS, and so they have created an information service that allowed us to produce a dashboard where, for instance, the mayor of Óbidos, he has an event in this weekend, and in Monday he can find out what was the number and the value of payments with digital means, of course, that happened during the weekend. He can find out if the event had an impact in the restaurants, in the hotels, in any economic activities, because they have the transactions by terminal, and the terminal has a contract with states where is the economic sector, and also where the people is coming from. If they are Portuguese, the municipality of origin; if they are foreigners, the country of origin. And so we are able of giving this information to the mayor and to the local authority officers. In this example, this is about traffic jams and accidents. So we have access to Waze data, and we can give in real time information about this. And in this example, the mayor of Arruda dos Vinhos, used this dashboard to claim for a new access to the highway, and he was successful. Maybe because the mayor and the Minister of Infrastructures belong to the same party. But I prefer to say it was because of the dashboard, okay? But the idea was, can I use data that is managed and produced centrally to derive information for local authorities, because some of the data are very good information as proxy for change the way the mayors can take decisions and can build public policies. And this, in fact, we are really proud of this, because the work that we have done in this specific project, Smart Region, is today the approach that was adopted by the Portuguese national strategy on smart territories. And so Portugal is nowadays implementing this model that we developed at Nova Cidade. I'm going now to give the floor to André to present just a few of the projects that we do, just to give some real examples of the work.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. So I'm just going to showcase briefly some of the projects. Some of them already were highlighted by Professor Miguel. These are some of the output examples of the projects that we do. But basically, this one? The big one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so basically it's all about the descriptive, the predictive, and the prescriptive analytics that we do. And we do this for almost every project that we have. For example, one of the projects that we worked, for example, for the municipality of Lisbon, the UC Data Lab. So we, for example, use that to create a predictive model for the bike sharing system. So it enables the city to have a way of knowing if by the slots where I can leave the bike, I always have room to leave the bike or bikes available for me to go and to use them. So basically we created an algorithm that is now being used by the actual platform of the municipality, so they can balance the network of the bike sharing system. We also used an algorithm to predict, for example, the waste management. It's this one. So basically, to find out if, given a specific event or a specific date, is the waste production going to be higher or lower in certain parts of the city, and to balance the network to provide more cars to get that garbage, for example. So we also developed an algorithm for that. In the same project, we also dealt with parking illegalities. So the municipality has a company that, of course, wants to know where the parking illegalities are happening, so they can go there and ticket. Basically, it's their one of their income sources. And so we created a model taking in consideration, for example, the weather. So the weather is a proxy that, in case of Lisbon, in case probably almost cities, people tend to use more their private car when it's raining because it's more convenient. And for example, for Lisbon, we found out in specific days for each road, for each part of the city, where will be the more prone to have parking illegalities. So they can direct the means for that also. Then also, this is also for a research project, which is called CTEC. And here we dealt also with the environmental aspect of the city of Lisbon also. So basically, we collected data from the environmental network of sensors that the city has at their disposal. This is mainly descriptive analytics, but also based with that, we can also have predictive analytics. And we also developed a model for that. And also, for example, in the case of an environmental accident, for example, a spill of a certain product, how do the cloud of debris will navigate through the city, taking, for example, the weather conditions, wind conditions, and also the buildings and the streets infrastructure. So four different examples on descriptive and on predictive analytics. So this is the example of the predictive analytic model for the bike sharing system. So I already talked about it. One thing it's interesting is, I don't know if it shows here. So this is the model that we developed. So in green, you'll see the percentage of actual occupation, and in blue is the predicted occupation. And here you will see that the model diverge, and here it's almost aligned. What do you think happened here? COVID. Okay, so this is where the model diverged because it was nothing that we can accommodate with the model based on the historical data that we have. Right now, it's well aligned. All of these models were created in a project along with the municipality and with the company which is NEC, that created the platform for the municipality. So the idea was for us to create the models, but then they applied the model in real time, in real world situations, so they can have that highlights in their day-to-day operations. Once we passed the predictive, we are capable, of course, of going even further, and we dealt with the prescriptive analytics. So if we change the conditions in the city or in the region, what will happen to some of the variables that we are going to study? In this case, it was a project where we developed a walkability indicator. So we go to a specific zone, in this case of the city of Lisbon, and we developed a walkability indicator. So how pleasable it is to go in that specific street by walking, either because it has a lot of trees and it's comfortable to walk there in the summer, accessibility to services, to amenities, public transports, it's close to a shopping mall, so different variables. And once we did that, we created what we call the simulator. So basically, here is for the same region, you'll see in green to red. So the green ones are the streets where it's more pleasable to walk. And that gives us, in this case, the average of that area that you see regarding the walkability. And then we created a model. So for example, in this case are the trees. And if we doubled the number of trees, what will happen with the walkability in that specific region? So it will increase by 22%, okay? And we can do this with a lot of different variables, so we are not obliged to use one or two. We use the ones that were referenced in the literature review regarding the walkability, but we can incorporate a lot more in the model, okay? And we actually validated the information to know if the people are really walking on that street using telecommunications data, okay? So for example, Lisbon has a contract with a telecommunications operator, and they know in real time, in a grid by 200 by 200 meters, how many people are there in real time, and they even know the nationalities, if they are from abroad because of the roaming, or if they are actually locals being there. And we used that data. Actually, the camera, the CTO has the aggregated data, but for this specific project, we have access to actually the cell phones, cell phone by cell phone, where do people are, without knowing which people it is. Yeah. This is real? Ah, okay. It was a wrong slide. Another project that we also worked on, this is actually a request from an automotive club in Portugal, which is ACP. And the idea was to find out the impact of putting bicycle lanes in our roads. So they wanted to know, because it was a huge debate at the time, once I put a bicycle lane in a specific stretch of road, it will, they will say, okay, the traffic of the automobiles will have a huge impact regarding me putting a bicycle lane there. And what do you think it's the impact of having a bicycle lane in a stretch of road? Do you think it increases the traffic delays or decreases the traffic delays?
Only in one part of Nida.
Yes, Avenida Almirante Reis was in fact the reason of this study. But actually what we found out is that depends on the location and the way we do it actually. So if we put the bicycle lane on a place that has 2 lanes and now I have 1, or if it's on the middle of the road, close to the sidewalk, and we found out that the network during the different periods of the day and the different periods of the year, so in red are the ones that are above the average, so you see the average for Lisbon in those 2 lines in the matrix, and basically Avenida Almirante Reis is the one that the average of the traffic delay surpasses the average by far. But we have some cases where the actual traffic delays are lower than the average after the bicycle lane was put to the test. So in here you have 2 examples. So this one is Almirante Reis without the bicycle lane, and now they put the bicycle lane here, so it narrows the street to just 1, and the impact on traffic was huge. And this one, not so much. So you have here without the bicycle lane, and here the bicycle lane. Okay, so obviously comparing the location, and of course it's easy to understand that here it will have, it had a big impact. Here not so much, actually it decreases. This one was made in the same region as the Smart Region project that Professor talked about, but it was more related to investment. Okay, so basically we created a platform, and we created what we call the composite indicator that can be used to score the dynamic of the region and the municipalities within the region. So taking into consideration variables as energy consumption, waste management, health also. It depends on the variables that we want to include in the model. For example, the monetary transactions also, the transport, local accommodation. And basically we can monitor the entire region, having an average score for the entire region, or for a municipality, in this case, I have selected the Rua dos Vinhos. I can select the year, and then it will give me the dynamic score of that municipality and how it compares with the entire community. So it, in this case, choosing the different variables, it has a lower average, and comparing the same municipality with the previous year. Okay, so basically the framework can be adjusted with variables that are interesting to my business if I want to locate there. But if I have a specific business, choosing the right dimensions, I can see in which one of the municipalities makes for me more sense to invest regarding the type of investment and the business that I'm trying to find out the location. Digital twins. So we have now a huge project regarding digital twins, actually two. We have been working on this as a future. Basically, we want to do that descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics inside what we call a digital twin. So it's not just about having a digital representation of a city or of a region, but actually knowing and running the models inside the digital twin. The advantage of this, for example, if I use something like this in the bicycle lane example, I can plan in advance in a virtual environment, and then I can decide with the impacts that I can see here, what is the way of my investment and what I'm going to do in terms of planning. I know, for example, if I want to create or construct a new building in a certain part of the city, what will that impact in terms of accessibility, mobility, and impactful for the entire area of the construction. Also, we are moving forward with this also for ports. We have, I don't know if we have it here. So this is the next city one. No, it's not here. But basically, we are pairing with the Port Authority of Lisbon, and we are creating what are the bases for a smart port also in Lisbon. Not just the port, but the connection of the port and the city. And because they are two separate entities that combine together, and what one do will impact on the other, either on the transport network. For example, in Lisbon, we have the cruise ships, which has a huge impact in tourism also, and also in the monetary transactions. So that's two of our new projects that just started last September, so we don't have anything to show yet, but our digital twins is one of the future that we want to delve with. I don't know, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. It's very exciting to see these images. I remember the first time I went to visit your school, and I heard about this lab. I was super impressed. Immediately I told myself, I have to do one time a project together with you. So that's why you are here today. I want to ask you first, for our audience to understand, what do you mean by a smart and sustainable city? What does it mean?
Well, the first question is that what we do is just the tool. So when we speak, in my opinion, about a smart and sustainable city, is a city where we are able to improve the quality of life of the people that lives there or works there, or the organizations. So as I said previously, the idea is that the city is invisible. This is not very good for the mayor, because he can do it just once. Because after he built the smart city, the mayor becomes irrelevant, because everything is working. So maybe this is one of the reasons that it doesn't happen so often. I don't know. But to say, and that we are able also to make a much more efficient use of resources, and to have less impact in terms of the environment and the green gas emissions. But what I would say is that we are going to create an environment where the mayor can take his decisions based on evidences that really translate the reality and is capable of deciding between multiple options what is the best course of action. And that also will lead to a reality where he can save a lot of resources, which we know they are always limited. And so in the end of the day, he can move forward better because he will know that the decision is going to be the best decision for that location at that time.
Good. So you mentioned the mayor. So we are talking about decisions at the mayor's level.
Yes.
Who are the other important stakeholders?
The different, as I said, usually the governance of the city then is made by areas. So when we built this kind of solutions, we try to bring together three different areas of expertise. One is data science, of course. Another one is geographical information systems, because anything that happens somewhere in space. But there is one third area, which is the business intelligence, one that we have the master that I referred in the beginning, and because this creates a model where the data, the information, the same data can produce information at the city level or at the lower levels of detail. So I can select, no, I want only to look at the data of a certain area, and I can filter the data to that area. So the insights that we provide can be delivered for the mayor, for the officer responsible for a certain area, or even to the citizen. Because this kind of tools allow us to make very, shall I say, citizen-centric decisions. For example, one example that I saw, I never saw this in Portugal, but it was a city where the citizens, they have a citizen, not a citizen, a city ID card. So each citizen has an ID card. And by having an ID card that gives them access to the services of the city, it could be the transport, the museums, I don't know, the pool of the city, if there is one. And by providing that kind of card, the city starts to know who the people are, their habits, because they collect the data, but at the same time they create a communication facility with the citizen. And the example is, it was from Tel Aviv, and so there is a theater that is going to have a play today at 9 o'clock. If at 8 o'clock they get to the conclusion that they have 30% of the tickets have not been sold, they can send a message to the people that lives in that neighborhood, telling them, please come, because I can offer you a ticket or I can give you a special discount. And so when I create this idea of the city as a platform, I can provide information to the mayor, but I can also at the same time provide much better services to the citizen itself, each one being treated according to his own profile and needs.
Good, thank you. Andrea, when I entered the school, I remember to see in the wall a slogan called "Data with Purpose." What does that mean?
Well, actually, we also talk that data is not information. So that's the first thing that we taught in the university. So having the data and not using it, it's somewhat the data graveyard that Professor showed in the morning. So we must use the data with a purpose. So we need to have the question, and we use data to answer that question. So otherwise, we are just collecting data, and we think we are rich because we have too much data, but actually, if we are not using it to actionable on answering a question, and for example, data-driven public policies. So I first have to have a question or a problem, and then I will use data to solve that problem and to answer that question. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, and I'm just collecting data for the sake. So I'm spending resources, without having any.
So this afternoon we had an interesting meeting and we were talking about this city problem.
Yeah.
How do you usually initiate these projects?
It depends. So some of them come to us. For example, the SAP, they want for us to have a study on that. Other ones are most derived from the research that we want to do. But the majority are problems that come to us or opportunities that we can identify. For example, the smart region was actually a project that was promoted by us, and we come to the region, to the West region, and say, okay, this could be interesting for you. Of course, they were from the beginning a board, and it will not be possible to mount a project like that size without them. But it depends. But the majority, I think, it's problems that we identify or come to us, and then we'll help. Even from the municipality, it's the same. For example, Lisbon has an open data portal that we created, and they have a couple of challenges that they list. So they provide, for example, the data to try to solve that problem, and they put that problem to the community, and then either students, for example, can use that open data to help solve that problem that is identified by the user.
So the client
Yes.
usually takes the initiative and approaches you
Not always, but
with a problem.
If I may add something to that, when we look at the Portuguese reality, what we come to the conclusion is that the cities where we see successful smart city projects are the cities where the mayor or the deputy mayor lead the process. So this is something that is really critical because we are speaking about it's the question of the data to share data, to use the data to support decision making. If there is not present a leader to make it happen, it will not happen because typically people don't like to share data between organizations and within the organization, and so we have to have a very strong leadership. The second thing is that in order to take the organization to adopt the digital transformation, leadership is a key issue. I remember that in the Smart Region project, we had the 12 mayors of the West region together, spending one full day at university designing what we called the mayor's cockpit. So each mayor designed the dashboard that he wanted in his office for us to implement in the platform. So I think the challenge many times is that it's very difficult to have the attention of the leader of the organization to engage in the project.
But not always. We have leaders
Yes.
who have such a vision and confidence and are willing
And
to...
one of the problems is also when we present the end result, sometimes a blockage could be the data shows something different that supported the actual decision that was made.
Right.
And sometimes that's also a problem. For example, if the initial idea is to open the data and to showcase the work that is being done, and sometimes when we look at the final results, they are not completely aligned with the past decisions, and sometimes they don't want to show the data because of that. So that's also an
So how
issue.
do you ensure people are concerned about sharing data? How do you ensure trust, transparency when you use data from other organizations? What do you do for them to feel comfortable?
Using our traditional approach and knowing this different, one thing is data and another thing is information. Typically, there is always a part of data governance in order to guarantee the quality and the validity of the data that we use in the process. And so typically that is guaranteed by the approach that is used. But today what happens is that many organizations, the ones that we use the data from, they have already in place quality validation procedures to guarantee that we can use the data. Nevertheless, there are sources that are really complicated. For instance, environmental sensors are sensors that are difficult to use because they suffer many times from problems in terms of quality. But we have the tools to do that. Usually the question is that sometimes people don't believe that by sharing data collectively, we have benefits for the society.
Good, thank you. Let me open the floor for the audience to ask questions. Francisco, please.
So thank you very much for this initiative and congratulations to the speakers. I've been studying this topic for many years. It's famous, the book of Tongsen about smart cities. The twin city concept that you show here, I saw 20 years ago in Shenzhen.
Mm-hmm.
So before they build a building, they see in 3D how the building looks. And we saw in the big screen, was by an American company and a Chinese. And I saw the same day, Macau have a twin city made by Peking University. And it was supposed to be shared by CTU and other ones, but I think they did not share because you have to pay a price, so I don't know. I completely agree with you that smart cities only work if we have smart managers. That's why Singapore, for me, is the smartest city in the world, because it's a meritocracy. They choose the best people to manage the city. Like, for example, to avoid traffic jams, the public workers can start working at different times, like 10 o'clock, and then leave later. So, but in Macau, for example, the schedule is fixed. So so there are many solutions for it. The key is real that we need to have a smart administrators. China have a huge potential because the government have the property, the data. Huawei is the one managing Macau, the data, and the administrative department is the one coordinating the intelligent governance, etc. But we really don't have this vision that you mentioned, that we need someone with vision, that like they have in Singapore, they know where they want to be in 20 years. And so what is your advice to Macau? Because information is also money. And both Macau and Hong Kong are run by oligarchies. So a lot of data, Macau, for example, don't have a master plan they have only in the last 5 years. And once I ask a public servant why we don't have a master plan, and they say, no plan is the best plan. And the meaning is, if you don't share data, you can manage to give to the people who pay more to get more profit. So there is this problem. Sorry, maybe I put too much in the scenario, but so in Macau, we have the problem of the administration. We don't have green buildings, so sustainable. Our laws change the first urban planning law was 1912, then was the update 50 years later, and then 50 years later, a new update. But no green roofs, no solar panels, nothing. So administrative is very backwards. What is your suggestion that for Macau or for the region? I don't know.
No, what I can say is that we are here during this week making this visit on the invitation of Universidad City Macau University, and the idea is to, in fact, to see if we joint efforts we can create a lab in this area in order to explore the potential. Because, as you said, if we look at mainland, there are many cases of very interesting solutions, and I think that there is a huge opportunity to go from what we see happening many times, which is using the digital transformation to optimize processes, but to go much further in order to change the way we plan the city and we build the city. And I think there is a real opportunity to do that also here in Macau. And I don't know so much about Macau because it's my first time here. But from what I learned this week, I think there is an opportunity to make things happen, taking advantage of the capacities that we have today. Never as today we were able to collect so much data. Never as today we had the analytical capabilities that we have. And so nowadays I believe that this is basically a question of using our brains to create new opportunities. And so the conditions are present. It's up to us to make the difference and to translate ideas into action.
Another question here.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for your insightful and very interesting presentation, Professor Miguel and Andre. Actually, my question is actually your answer, because watching your presentation, I'm fascinated, and obviously in China, smart cities have been around for a while. I think the potential, coming from the non-developed world, Portugal's a very developed system with governance systems and technology, but for a lot of the parts of the developing world, Portuguese-speaking countries, Timor-Leste, Cabo Verde, São Tomé, and I was watching a program about the Solomon Islands and the recent devastation last year in December, where they think 70-80% of the city will be uninhabitable after natural disasters. You have examples recently in Bangkok and about building codes and structures, and the geospatial aspect of it and then the meteorological aspects of it. I think that's the interesting part for planning purposes in the future, because if you can gauge where things are likely or to occur besides the transport systems and the road laneways, I think that's a huge potential for smart cities in the future. About the planning aspect of Jakarta in Indonesia will be moving soon. If they had these systems available to them when they were planning, then I think there's huge implications for how cities are planned in the future and how they're built. So yeah, I think if we could expand a bit more. So thank you.
Yes, no, thank you very much. It's exactly that. What we are seeing is that we can provide this kind of insights and this kind of tools independently in the great capacity, not being limited by the digital maturity of the context where we try to move forward. So we saw some examples, but for instance, I didn't give any example on it, but for instance, with satellite imagery, we can also learn a lot. So we can use many proxies to provide insights to support a new paradigm of city planning, and this can be applied in any geography, in any city. And I think this is something that is very, very, very interesting. Of course, if I have more data from the city, I can do much more. But in fact, we have now the capacity of being very, very data-driven in the planning and managing the cities. I don't know.
Yeah, and we are also working in regions and in areas such as agriculture, for example, and we use the satellite imagery to create models to predict the wine production in northern Portugal, for example. We are also trying to use GIS regarding health to try to see if where people live and where they work are in somehow related to certain types of diseases, for example. We have a project on that also, and we just submitted some digital twin appliances for a project, for digital twin large-scale projects also, for suitability analysis regarding climate change and pests and diseases for also crops. So we also work closely with that. Yeah, it's a huge area.
Really interesting about the way how you process the information, how you process data and fight for efficiency of the cities and how things progress in terms of management of the cities. Congratulations on your presentation, really interesting. My question has got to do with a process that I think will become perhaps in the future, yes or no, that has got to do with having a more efficient city, like the system that you've developed will make the mayor disappear, as Professor Neto said, which is a very interesting approach. But I would like to know a little bit more about how are the possibilities of, by the disappearing of the mayor, having the system used not in a to the public, to the citizen, to the tourist that visits, being more user-friendly for the user, the citizen, the common citizen being user. Professor mentioned, for instance, if you go to the festival by car, you will have a lot of traffic jams. You may want to know where are the parking lots, if they are full or not, if what are the best roads to get there, if by electric bike or if by car. So do you think that the next step will make these systems more direct to the user rather than do specifically for the city management and directly for the city user?
Thank you for your question. First of all, the part of the mayor disappearing was a joke. Of course. Because there is one thing, which is the mayor was elected with a political agenda. And so in the end of the day, he can have the information, but he will have the final word because he wants a certain objective to be reached. Regarding the citizen, what we see at the same time that we see these trends that I showed here is that we need to create the necessary conditions for individuals to change their behavior in order to solve the problem of climate emergency. Because it will be by the individual action of each one of us that we will be able to reach carbon neutrality. And so what we see is that these approaches can also create an opportunity to give the information to the citizen that will make him adopt a more sustainable behaviors. I can give you examples. For instance, in an event, now there are cities that when they have an event, they include in the price of the ticket or in the ticket the public transport. So if you are going to a concert, the ticket of the concert includes the bus travel or the train travel. Or there are applications that give information to the citizen that if you go by car or if you walk or if you cycle, what is the impact not only in the cost but also in the public health, in this health, the cost of the emissions that choosing one way or the other, and all of this is now happening. So what we see is a combination of all of this, and everything is happening at the same time, making this really challenging for any city. But one thing is for sure: in order to do anything all the examples that I referred, you need to have the city as a platform, and you have to integrate data from many different data sources, including the citizen in the process, in order to be successful.
Yeah, and for example, another example we have in the Smart Region project. It's a different project, but in the same area. It's called Oeste Mais Recicla. Basically, they installed machines for recycling the cans. And for example, the people that recycle the cans received a discount on the public transport. So we are recycling, at the same time we are compensating the people that are going to use the public transports. And this is only possible also with that interconnection of different layers of information also. And that's another example of the public engagement and also benefiting the climate in this case, and the sustainability.
Well, first of all, thank you very much also for the very, very exciting presentation and all the information that was passed to us. It is really fantastic how, good data management can be used. I was very interested in these vertical solutions, but my question is, somehow you answer that with that concept of a platform, which is vertical solution, but how about the holistic solution, a holistic view of the city? And eventually, the reason why the mayors are still needed is because not only for their political legitimacy, but also because the vision that they have to have, supposedly, about the city and the future, everything else. The question that I have to ask you is about exactly, okay, you are talking about, let's say, developed economies, developed cities. How about those that I was somehow already mentioned that are not so developed? And particularly in the case of Macau, we see now problems that have to do with somehow this is a kind of a city in transition. Transition from a standing city with its very clear boundaries to a regional city with a new region where the boundaries are starting to become very fluid. And the circulation and the mobility and so on makes things quite sometimes difficult to predict. So my question is, do you have solutions for that, or you have already experience in regard to this kind of urban environment? Thank you very much. That's my question.
Thank you very much. The first thing, it seems that the joke with the mayors was not very, very good. But nevertheless, to say that when we decide one thing that happens a lot is that people ask me, can you give me an example of a smart city? I don't have an answer to that, because being smart or not depends on the city. So there is these are the possible approaches, but there is no solution that fits all the cities, because there is always the identity of the cities and the vision and the strategy of the city, and then you have to adjust what you do to what is reality of the city. Regarding the way that we see that this is no longer about cities, this is no longer even about regions, because everything is connected, and the administrative boundaries don't translate the holistic vision of the life in space. And so what we need is to find ways of going. This is no longer just about verticals. It's how can I interconnect different areas, different cities, because people tend to move and tend to not stay in the same place forever. And so what we see, for instance, in Portugal, is that through that national strategy on smart territories, there was creating a fund to support investments in the digital transformation in cities. But if the municipalities, if the cities want to take advantage of that fund, they have to agree and to adopt a common data model and interoperable solutions between systems. Meaning what? I can have different verticals, but the verticals cannot be silos. The data must be interoperable between verticals and between cities and territories, so that I can do the analysis at different spatial scales. So, but this is really complex. So this theoretically, what I said works. In practice and in the real world, it's really difficult to guarantee that the verticals will not lead to silos of data, and that the different systems between the different local authorities can be interoperable.
And we see this in the Smart Region project. We have 12 different municipalities, and for example, for the mobility of the public transports, there is no boundaries. They move around between the municipalities, and even outside the actual intermunicipal community to go to Lisbon in this case. So it's very complex, but they are all aligned with the same goal, and that's and the 12 municipalities are from different parties. So and that's very. It's very interesting to see that they are all together working with the same goal. In this case, promoting also the region very well. But regarding the question about how you see a smart city, I think one way of we can measure if it's a smart city or not, if you could ask everyone that lives in the city or that uses the city, either as a tourist or not, if we can ask them what you think it's a good city or not, and if everyone answers yes, it's a good city either to visit, I think we can call it a smart city, because I think the citizen will be always our focus. Okay, so they are our focus group. So if I ask a tourist or people that live here, do you like to live here or do you like to come here? And if they say yes, probably we are doing a good job of transforming it to a smart city.
Let me ask you a question. So I assume all these projects were in towns or cities that were somehow having a leader with a vision and with a willingness to make it a smart city. However, about those cities that you didn't do projects, or they are not yet data-driven, what do you think are the consequences for cities which don't adopt this approach?
I will tell a story. I don't know it, but I hope it answers the question. I was really surprised because in the last 6 months, the implementation of the national strategy on smart territories started in Portugal, and the Portuguese government contracted us, Nova Information Management School, and our lab to create a training program for local authorities. And we have 308 municipalities. In the program, today, we had more than 2,000 participants from all over Portugal. They wanted to learn about the concept and how they can build the local action plan for them to do it in reality in Portugal. So from the 308 municipalities, 297 are presently working in this. So what I think is that it's happening. So now that examples are present, now that benefits can be in fact measured and impact is possible to be a reality, local authorities are starting to take action, and this is not just the leaders, it's like a trend, and so now we see this happening all over.
Here in Macau, there's been discussed frequently about closing some streets. For example, here the main street in the downtown, Almeida Ribeiro. What would you suggest to the city if we have to?
I can, in that case, I can tell two stories. The first one I referred already, which is Barcelona was seen at a world scale as an amazing example of a smart city. So it was an example. If you want a smart city, Barcelona is a smart city. They have what they call an approach, the squares, the super blocks. So what they organized a part of the city in super blocks. They removed cars. Everything was amazing. A lot of green infrastructures, a lot of space for people to walk. And the mayor lost the elections. And so that's a problem. But I can tell you another example, also from Spain, in a city called Pontevedra. And the mayor, he won the elections, and the first decision that he took was to take all the cars from the city center, from downtown. And people were in fury, and for 1 year, everybody was complaining. And after the first moment, they come to the conclusion that the local economic activity without cars grown. So there were a lot more people in the center. There were a lot of more people making their life in the city center, and he won the elections in the end.
So the recovery of the small business.
Yes. What happens is that the short-term impact of closing the street is not to be very positive, and the people will be very annoyed with what happened because they are not able to take the car to what they want. But in the long term, what we have learned for the cities that have done it, in reality, they were able to shall I say, renew that city space, return it to the citizens and to the public space, and also being able to do a very important thing, which is if the public space is used by people, this increases the social interactions between people, and we are able to bring back to the city what we called in the past, I will say this in Portuguese, a vida de bairro. So we knew our neighbors. We interacted and we lived with them and them to us. And that is something that disappeared from the cities. And that kind of decisions, in the end of the day, can have that kind of impact also. So if I was mayor, I would do it in the beginning of my mandate.
Take the risk.
In the beginning of the mandate, not in the end. Okay.
Any further questions from the audience? Please.
Thank you very much once more. This is more than a question, is thought. Le Corbusier said at the beginning of the 20th century, the city or the house is a machine. But we can see now with the AI, the city is a machine. And sometimes the citizens are just a number. For example, Hong Kong, a building of 50 floors can house 2,000 people. And a group of buildings can have 50,000 in the block. But they don't know each other, just met in the lift. But so there is no, what you mentioned, the bairro or community life is not there. So as the city grows in Macau, in height and other places, that I think is a mistake, growing so high, because it's not sustainable in the next 20 years. These buildings will have to be, they cannot go higher than that, technically, with the cost. So how do you see AI impact somehow in your job and also in the way the cities are designed and management? Because AI now is replacing a lot of things, and probably the managers or architects, they say they don't need architects because AI can do much better a house than an architect.
Okay. First of all, we have AI, we have artificial intelligence for a long time. This is not something new. So we have artificial intelligence. We teach artificial intelligence at Nova IMS for more than 30 years. What is changed presently is that never as today we have the computation power to analyze much bigger amounts of data, and we can analyze data that we could in the past. So typically we use the databases and the data that is structured to feed the artificial intelligence models. But today we can use images, sounds, text, whatever, anything can be used. And so we see new opportunities to apply artificial intelligence, namely with generative AI. But in my opinion, of course, we are going to see some professions where artificial intelligence can replace manual activity. But on the other hand, we are going to see that there are activities where the social aspect of the process is fundamental. Okay, I can say an architect. Maybe he's going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. But do you think that if you are going to buy a project to an architect, you will prefer to speak with the architect and discuss what is going to be your project, or do you be satisfied if you could use just a computer and get the result? So there are professions where, in fact, we keep on. One of the areas that people say, Bill Gates, not very long ago, said in 10 years, we will not have doctors anymore because artificial intelligence can replace doctors. Would you go to a doctor that is a machine and accept what the machine says? No. So what we are going to see is that some things will be replaced for machines, but other things we want people. This is my opinion, and from what I said, maybe you could think that I prefer computers to decide. But no, there is a place for the computers, and there is a place for people. And I think we are people, and we prefer to take decisions with people.
And in some cases, we are moving backwards. So, for example, if you call a telecommunications company, it's very often you answered by a chatbot. And we have, for example, in Portugal, there is a telecommunications company that created an advertise against that, and it's in Portuguese, it makes sense. I want to talk with com as primas, prima 1, prima 2, prima 3. And actually, they know if you come to us, you'll have a real person on the other side. So, in sometimes it's reverting again.
Having said that, there are amazing things that we can do with artificial intelligence, but I don't think they will replace everything and that they will take over everything, at least for the time being. One thing that is true, for instance, is going back to health. With artificial intelligence, I can provide a level of health care at the global scale never imagined before. Because artificial intelligence can be used, for instance, in countries of low level of development to give some insights about the problem that the people has. So this is a very interesting debate, but it's another debate. But we could start a debate on that.
No, for example, in agricultural, with artificial intelligence, in underdeveloped countries, they are using just smartphones to identify some common diseases on plants, and it has a huge impact on the harvest being just a few kilograms to 10 times that. So it has actually a huge impact on people that need them for food. So it has also, of course, a lot of benefits.
So it's about time. I want to thank all of you and say that we have a new leader in Macau, appointed a few months ago. Maybe it's a good time that he will close some streets.
Okay, maybe.
Because it's at the beginning of his mandate.
Okay.
So, thank you very much to our guests and again to Fundação Rui Cunha and all the participants here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Professor Net will be around for those of you who want to talk directly with him, please.
Whenever you land.